new roller coaster at King's Dominion drops 300 feet and goes over 90 miles an hour.
This morning, Holly Morris is there to get to be one of the first riders on this new monstrosity. Holly, you ready for this?
One of the highest rated coasters in the entire world is Intimidator 305, the Intamin Giga coaster that came to King's Dominion for the 2010 season. This was a huge investment for the park and the last coaster they would receive for 8 years. My first trip to King's Dominion was back in 2008, so I didn't get to experience this Giga until 2018, and I got 4 rides over the span of 2 days last summer. This coaster has significant pros and cons, and that's what I'll be talking about today. Let's jump right into the first pro. The height. It's a Giga, and one of only 5 in the world, and that cable lift rockets you up the lift hill to the 305-foot apex. I don't care how good the rest of the ride is. Any ride that clears 300 feet is awesome. And now the first con. The drop feels shorter than the drop on other Gigas. It seems like on this coaster, the drop starts to level off sooner than the other Gigas I've been on. The B&M Gigas feel like you're falling forever, and even Millennium Force's feels longer, although it's not much longer than I-305's. For me, once the drop starts leveling out, the great feeling of freefall is gone. You're still picking up speed, but it's not the same. The second pro is the speed. This hits 90 miles per hour, and you feel every bit of it. This is similar to Millennium Force, which showcases its speed by staying low to the ground with its turns and tunnels. But I-305 does this even better than Millennium Force because after the big Airtime hill under the lift hill, the entire rest of the ride hugs the ground, so you're tearing through that near mile of track, and you feel every bit of it. The second con is the fact that it has over-the-shoulder restraints. This is the only Giga that has them, and although this coaster opened with the hard plastic ones that everyone hated, and they were replaced with the soft straps, to me the bulky bar that goes across your lap kills any chance of airtime that you might get on this ride. I love the open feeling of Millennium Force's trains and any other coaster with T-bars, but on I-305, just like Stormrunner or Maverick, I feel very enclosed, and the restraint really takes away from the ride. Apparently, the over-the-shoulder restraints were installed in case there were blackouts on this ride, so riders who pass out momentarily would fall into the restraint rather than hunch forward if there was just a lap bar. And I think this is a valid reason for having over-the-shoulder restraints. The third pro is the appearance of this coaster. If I'm making a list of best-looking coasters, this is easily top 5. It's called Intimidator, and it looks the part. This thing absolutely towers over the park with its minimal support structure on the 305-foot lift, and the Airtime hill going under the lift is pretty iconic in the roller coaster world. It was even the inspiration for a Lego coaster I built with my daughter a few years ago. The third con is the setting of this coaster. It's pretty much set in a bare field. I guess you could call it a terrain coaster because of how low it stays to the ground, but it's basically just a flat plot of land. How cool would it be for a terrain speed machine like this to be flying over and around hills just like Lightning Rod? There's not much the park could have done about this, but the setting is noticeably non-existent. The fourth pro is the theme. I'm sure most people know who Dale Earnhardt is and that his nickname is the Intimidator. And you have that great "Gentlemen, start your engine" soundbite before the cable lift starts rocketing the train up the lift. And the whole race car theme fits perfectly with the speed machine. The fourth con is the trim brakes on the final hill. After all those low-to-the-ground elements, it comes flying into a hill that looks to be full of ejector airtime, but the trim brake kills all of the momentum as you crest the hill as the train goes into the last couple turns before hitting the final brake run. Some people have told me that people were blacking out at the end of this ride without the trim, and I don't see how that could be the case because there's only one more hill with a curved drop and then another turn, and then a final turn into the brakes. And it also could be a stress issue on the train if it went flying over that hill, but I even doubt that because there are other Intamins out there like Skyrush which absolutely fly over its airtime hills. The fifth pro is the intensity, and this is the hallmark of the ride. This ride was built to be insanely intense, and it succeeded. In fact, it succeeded too well. The first turn after the big drop is one of the most intense moments on any coaster. I grayed out on it every time, and I didn't get my vision back until cresting the top of the Airtime hill. But it was even more intense after it opened in its original form. The park had to put trim brakes on the drop to slow the train down a little, and then they actually reprofiled the first turn to make it less intense. This is the most intense part of the ride, but the rest of the ride is definitely built for speed and intensity, so if that's what you value most in a coaster, this will be your favorite ride. So I saved my most important pro and con for last, and this is my final con. It's not built for Airtime. And I know this is really all about personal preference, which is why I don't consider this ride overrated despite the fact that this did not crack my top 50. For what this ride is, it's amazing, but I'm all about big drops in Airtime, which is why I like a ride like Fury 325, and that's in my top 3. It's not about this ride being too intense for me, I just think that a ride that focuses on intensity and turns is kind of boring. I think Fury 325 and Millennium Force are much better rounded Gigas, and have moments that focus on speed, moments that focus on intensity, and moments that focus on Airtime. I-305 was pretty much all intensity all the time, which, like I said before, if intensity is your favorite thing, then you're going to love this ride. But it's not my thing, so I have it ranked a lot lower. Okay, enough negativity. The final pro on this list is the rapid transitions. Those quick changes of direction are awesome. And I guess they're a little similar to the turns on Maverick, but way more whippy and intense. So as far as I know, or from what I've ridden, this is the only coaster that has elements like these. This was by far my favorite part of the ride, and taking those transitions at that high rate of speed is probably the main reason I went back for re-rides both of the days that I was there. So to review, the pros are its height, speed, appearance, theme, intensity, and rapid transitions. And the cons are that the drop feels short, the over-the-shoulder restraints, the bare setting, the trim on the final hill, and the fact that it's not built for Airtime. That's all I have for Intimidator 305. It's still a really good ride that ranks second in the park for me, but it is my least favorite Giga. So let me know what you think about I-305 in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys all next time.